You guys hear me? Awesome. Thank you. Can you hear this? More people than I expected. So Streeter has the power to connect, engage, and humanize our public spaces. And over the past 3 years, I've seen blank walls transform into spaces for dialogue and reflection and even necessary conflict. I can say firsthand the Streeter changed the way that I saw this city, and it also changed my perspective towards me being able to find home again. This quote. Now, everyone here knows what a good public place is. And when you think of a good public place, you think of people being out there in the streets, and you see people that are not because there's a neighborhood festival or there's an extra reason for them to be there, but because they want to be there. And there's an obvious relationship between pedestrians and buildings. Usually businesses have hand-painted signs, and even the poles have some sort of character. Now, at some point in my life, I found this talk by James Howard Counselor, and it's called The Tragedy of Suburbia. And he says that he wants to live in a city that is worth caring about, with places that have character, meaning, and quality. When I saw his talk, it really touched my heart. And it really touched my heart because we happen to live in a place that has its fair share of tragic public places. Like this one. And we still have to be okay having this sort of inspiration in spaces around us. Our poorly designed highways that cut straight through the heart of the city makes it really hard for us to be able to connect with our surroundings. The walking dead. This TV show chooses Atlanta's own downtown, our downtown, for its post-apocalyptic. And this is a problem, and it is funny, but this is a problem, and we have to change this. And it's really funny that we're laughing here, but how many of us are doing something about this? We are forgetting and not caring about where we are and where we come from. Atlanta's Sweet Auburn district is actually considered a landmark in danger of extinction. Now, just to tell you more about me, if you guys did not hear the accent, I'm from Lima, Peru. And I moved here when I was 15 years old. And I was not really happy if anyone here is a parent, do not move your kids when they're 15, because that's smart idea. So I grew up with plazas and markets and spending a lot of time out in the streets with my family. I think half of my family lived on my block. I knew everyone, and we had block parties almost every month. So I had a connection with my district, and I knew that I had a sense of space and where I was coming from. And as an artist, I happened to get inspired by my surroundings. Now, needless to say, when I moved to Atlanta, I was not really happy with anything. I was really lost. That was until I found this. When I found this picture, my whole idea of art and possibilities completely changed. The artist, his name is Blue, he's from Italy, and this picture was taken in Berlin. When I saw this, I was like, who is this person, and was this done legally or illegally, and how did he do it, and why did he do this? I was so inspired. I was 300 miles away from this place, and somehow I had more connection with this one wall than what I had around me at the time. So all of a sudden I wanted to make art again. Because I had moved to Atlanta to go to school, but I dropped out twice. I was like, okay. Until this. I wanted to make art again, but I wanted to make art not for me or for a gallery. I wanted to make it for the streets. And I wanted to be able to connect with people the same way that Blue was connecting with me. I wanted to have this sort of connection and hope that people can be closer than what we think we are. So I meet this one girl who was also an artist, and we were both really dissatisfied with the art scene in Atlanta. We didn't know what to do in regards to art here. So we took our art to the streets, And now I saw myself in a complete new world. Now I'm seeing my streets and my buildings and my roads in a completely different way. So I became a wall collector. This picture was taken about 3.5 years ago. I used to bike a lot and walk a lot, and I was actually documenting as many walls as I could to see if I could put my artwork there and even touch them to make sure that my work could be pasted on the walls. I was now connecting with a city that I had no connection with before. And it felt really good. It was really, really powerful to be able to create a connection on your own, just by being there and walking in and actually enjoying your streets. So I had the whole city as my canvas, and my audience was limitless. And just the idea of how many people I could be connecting with, it was just amazing. At this point, I meet another key person in my life. His name is Blackie, and he is a student at Tech. So when I meet him, he tells me that he had done a study abroad in Barcelona, and he had met all of his street artists over there. He tells me that when he came back to Atlanta, it's going up over here. When he came back to Atlanta, he was doing a project on urbanism, and he was also biking and walking a lot. And he was taking all of the MARTA trains and MARTA buses. So we had a good connection, and we were really talking about street art in a completely different way. So we came up with this idea. And we proposed this really crazy idea to this nonprofit called iDrum. The idea revolved around the question of, what if we put graffiti writers and street artists in the same room with urbanists and city planners? Which sounds really crazy, because this group of people went to school for it, and this other one learned their cities on their own. So what if we put these two groups of people together and we make them talk? And what if we try to get the best street artists in the world into the city of Atlanta, here in the South, to change our landscape? So what if? And I loved the idea, and this happens. So Living Walls, the City Speaks, a conference on street art and urbanism, is born. Now, we just had to figure out how to get the artists we promised we were going to get in. All of these things we said we were going to. We had no idea. But since we had nothing to lose, we started to ask everyone. So we went crazy with this. We were asking people from Peru and Argentina and Berlin and Canada and Australia. And to our surprise, everyone was saying yes. So we didn't know what to do, because everyone was like, yes, we want to get Atlanta, we want to paint in your city, we want to paint with your local artists, and we want to challenge this question. What are these buildings communicating to us? And what are they communicating to you? When we look at this, are we saying, this is just a pile of bricks that is going to stay there and we have nothing to do with it? Can we actually have a voice and any sort of power to make a change into this? What is it saying about us? How much are we caring about these spaces? It's not very nice to look at these walls, not much positivity into those. And we somehow think it's fine, and we ignore this. Not much positivity. Now there's a story about this wall. Earlier this year, this woman named Yolanda came to me, and she asked me if Living Walls could paint a mural for her. And she tells me the story about the wall. Apparently, people got robbed and attacked, and someone even got murdered inside this building. So it had a really bad energy. And when you meet Yolanda, she's the most colorful, most amazing, happy person in Atlanta, I think. But she happens to own this wall, so we wanted to do something about it. I introduced her to the artist Olive 47, and this happened. Huge change, and it is a pretty mural. But it's not just about what's on that wall, it's about the process. This wall took about a little bit over 10 days to produce, and the artist worked with the kids in the neighborhood. So this wall is no longer just Yolanda's wall, and it's not just the wall that we were trying to fix up and bring some new energy to it. Now it belongs to the whole neighborhood. It's something that the neighborhood is proud of. Now we started to connect with our surroundings and with our community. How are we connecting with these walls? This one wall, which is our controversial wall, is located in the Chilswood Park neighborhood, next to the penitentiary. And this wall had been neglected for years. So I invited the artist Hira from Argentina to come here and paint something on the wall. And this is what happens. For the ones that don't know about this mural, it is the image of a woman that is growing some sort of fur, and it creates a coat, and then this coat, it's something that she starts to shed, and then it transforms into a wolf that then she's walking with next to. To me, it represented transformation. To me, it represented change, which I find it to be really beautiful. But not everyone in the neighborhood was happy with it. It had nudity in it, and the wall happens to be located in front of a church and in front of a mosque. So people were discussing what to do with the mural that we had just painted. I was talking to the artist about this during the whole process, and we decided to take a step back and let the community decide on what to do with the wall. Once we put the paint on the wall, it no longer belongs to us, it belongs to everyone. So the neighborhood spoke, and we had to take it down. But as sad as that may sound, street art is not meant to last forever. It's supposed to be ephemeral. But now the story becomes history. And now everyone knows about it, not only in that neighborhood, not only in Atlanta, but all over the world. And now this wall that was neglected for years actually has more meaning than what it ever did before. Our murals are not just for us or for the artists. This is artwork that we build for everyone, artwork that we're hoping that will create conversations and dialogue. Artwork that we're not trying to put out there with answers, artwork that we want to put out there for you guys to question. And once we start questioning, the paint that went from being on the wall creates this dialogue, and then this dialogue becomes public space. And now we are humanizing this one space that was nothing before. And we're allowed to play with our surroundings. The more you play with what you have around you, the more beautiful it will look like.
In Atlanta, there's no street art in Atlanta, right? That's as far as I knew. So I ended up, I get the stories as people started coming back from Gaia and Jordan Seiler and these guys, and they were all like, this is the craziest, most awesome conference that you could possibly have.
This is a good neighborhood, so some people pass by and just say hello or bring me water. That's great.
Yesterday I peeked out of my store and I seen the artists working on the wall. Art needs to be displayed to bring out something, of positivity in the community, especially when people come off that train. They need to be able to see something that, can kind of enlighten them, make them think to some degree.
arm. So for the past 3 years, I have been working towards promoting and educating and engaging, trying to engage people about public art in our city via street art. And I have found home finally. I feel so good here, which I never thought I could do. And I guess what I want for you guys to take with you from this talk is, as intimidating as things may seem, and as much gray as you may have around you, and powerful forces that may tell you you cannot do something, you can. And if you decide to take back your public space, and if you decide to do something for your community, just like that picture shows it, believe me, it will shine brighter than anything else. Thank you.
So we're going to do a quick Q&A. So if you have a question for Monica, just raise your hand and shout it out, and then she'll respond.
Two questions. One, can you talk a little bit about the funding model and how you actually managed to get, I guess people, pay people to get flown in with materials, all that sort of thing. That's the first question. The second question is, what is Banksy coming here?
What's what?
What is Banksy coming here?
Fancy. Funding. We fundraise all year long. We have spent, I think we spent half of the year just creating events like music shows or even yard sales. We had an amazing prom fundraiser this year. Really, our team has grown to 21 people, and that's not counting volunteers. We have about 40 people that help with renewals throughout the whole year. So we are able to create really big events. We ask people for money as much as we can. We're hoping to do grant writing for next year. It's very grassroots, and somehow we pull it off, which is crazy. Banksy, I don't see him on my list for next year or the following year, but I don't think he's that far away either. I think I'm kind of close. Next question? Yes?
You guys have your teacher other than me?
I would say yes. We have only had 2 experiences with graffiti or people tagging our walls. The first one happened the first year, and the second one happened with that one controversial wall that I don't even think it was graffiti writers doing it. It was probably someone upset in the neighborhood. I'm not sure. But yeah, usually there's a level of respect, and the artists that we're working with are also known in the same movement or scene. So once we put something on the wall, it usually stops people from tagging it. Yes?
How do you figure out, like, how you coordinate with people to figure out which walls?
I look for walls every day. It's really crazy when I'm out in the streets. I'm only looking at walls. I don't have a life. I have a collection of walls, and sometimes people come to us. Sometimes it's neighborhood associations coming to us, telling us, "Hey, work with us. We have this number of walls," and they do the talking class. But still, until today, it's a lot of door-to-door sales, sort of. I ask constantly. I have no problems asking, "Hey, we do this. Would you like for us to paint your wall?" And then it depends. The artists that I'm bringing, I'm usually the one that knows the work that they do and what will fit best on the wall. So then I do the pairing wall and artist. Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about how you went about the art you did in South America and how you went about organizing that?
In South America? I never did any art in South America. Well, I was in school. How did I learn to organize it
You said
here?
that you did walls and all, like, done it all over the world, or gotten artists from?
Here, yes. I started doing street art, and I guess that gave me the knowledge of what it takes to work on a wall. Then how did I learn to organize this? I just did it. It was really weird. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. In the first year it was only guys the first year, and we didn't have a place to put them, we didn't have a house for them. So we got this big warehouse, and I just asked my friends to let me borrow a bunch of their mattresses, so we put all of the artists in their mattresses. It was just like a learning process on how to house over 12 artists, how to feed over 12 artists. We're getting better at it, but the first 2 years it was people sleeping on the floors and us trying to get food from places before they were throwing them away. It was really, really weird. Still trying to figure it out.
Do you guys only utilize artists from out of the country, or do you try and do a lot of local street artists too?
It's usually a half and half. This year we actually had more artists from Atlanta than from out of the city. This year we also work with only female artists. So we not only work with street artists, we also work with photographers or installation artists or painters. It really depends. I have to see that the artist can really work on a big wall because we have a time frame. But that's usually the only limit into what artists I work with. But I try to make it half and half. Yes?
What about do you run into the city a little bit? I mean, it seems to me like you talk about it seems like everything is great, the walls are really good, the city takes you up.
First 2 years, we just did our walls and we were painting private buildings, so we never had to really do much or fill out too much paperwork with the city. We only had to do it a couple of times for bigger walls. And then this year, we came to find out that there is a signage ordinance, so all of our walls have to get reviewed by Department of Transportation, Urban Design Commission, and the Office of Cultural Affairs, just to make sure that we're not putting a billboard or some sort of advertisement. Other than that, as long as it's a private wall, I don't see much trouble with it. We're trying to figure that one out too after our very controversial wall, because now apparently we have to go in front of City Council, or I'm not sure. As far as I'm concerned, as long as it's a private wall, we only have to make sure that we're not putting advertisement and we're okay. I thought it was a beautiful wall. I think the artist enjoyed it. She got here, and our director of engineering actually took her up on the lift and showed her the whole neighborhood. And if you guys would have met the artist, she's the most amazing, most poetic person you'll ever meet in your life. And she'll talk about this wall like if it was her baby. Like, look at the plants coming from it, look at the dirt here. Like, she knew exactly what she wanted to do, and the end result was beautiful. And even the conversation was beautiful. It was really needed in that neighborhood. And it hurt to go paint over it, because I wanted to paint over it. And I also felt that connection with it. It was a good thing that needed to happen.
Are you going to go back and do something else?
We don't know, maybe. We don't know yet. Talking about it. Anybody else? Yes?
The approval process, is it mostly on your side, or is it on the person who owns the wall itself, or is it open to the artist who makes the final decision on what actually is painted?
Usually the artist comes here. This is how it works. I usually send the pictures of the walls to the artist. Sometimes months in advance, sometimes only weeks in advance, because walls are really, it's really weird. Like, you may have one wall one day and then the next day you don't have it. I'm constantly switching walls, or sometimes the artist may not like it. So it's a game that I have to play until the time that they get here. Once they come here, it's a completely different game, because it's the first time they see the whole person. So I allow them 1 to 2 days to learn about the neighborhood and get used to the area. Sometimes it takes longer. It really depends on the artist. Sometimes the owner wants to know what they're doing on the wall. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they work together. But I usually leave it up to the artist. I don't put a theme. We don't do butterflies and rainbows and flowers. People are constantly asking us to do that. the work of the artist and how, it relates to the area, and the owner has to approve it, or if he doesn't care, then it's okay, but it's usually up to the artist and how it reacts to the area. Yes?
How do local artists get involved?
How do local artists get involved? legalworldsconference@gmail.com. Email me. Yes.
If we want to go see these walls, is there a list online or is it maybe a website?
We have a website, livingwellsatl.com or livingwellsconference.com, and we do have a list. We are still working on our website. Again, first year that we have a big team. First time we have a media team. During the conference this year, they were building the website. But yes, you can find them all online. Or you can email us if you want for us to just send you the list. So, or go online. Things like that. Go online. Anybody else? Yes.
What does 2013 have to do
2013. For the first time, the team and I, anyone who was here, raise your hand. I think I have 3, 4. I don't know what that is. For the first time, we are actually going on a retreat this weekend, and we are going to plan the whole year next year. So we should be more prepared, should be more organized. We're not going to have a theme like this year with the all-female conference, but we are going to try new things of maybe not just doing work on the walls, but also doing work 3D or sculptural work. So, it's a surprise. Yes?
What would you say your biggest challenges are right now? And also, on the flip side of that, what are you most excited about?
Challenges. Funding, always a challenge. That's probably our biggest fear. I've always dreamt really big, and I encourage my team to dream as big as they can. But with that, you create a budget and then you're like, how are we going to do this? It's just got too high. Funding is usually the biggest challenge. Most excited about my team. I think I have the best volunteer team anyone could ever ask for, and everyone is so on point. And we are also excited that for the first time I'm curating the whole year, but everyone will have the right to tell me what goes and what doesn't. So now 21 people are pretty much having an opinion on what we're doing next year. So it's going to be different than the last 2 years. Again.
Are there any language barriers that you have yet to be able to break down? Like if you want to pull the artist out of a certain part of Africa or something, you don't know that language, or is there any kind of experience you have like that?
No, we have a lot of artists from different parts of the world, but they don't always usually have know a little bit of English. We worked with these 2 Ukrainian artists this year. That was probably the toughest. Also because they had really strict work ethics. It was language barrier and how we were actually working with them. The first artist that goes to bed at 8 p.m. Usually they went party every night. They were not drinkers either. But we still figured it out. We tried so hard. Okay, one thing that, since we lack funding, we always try to compensate with Southern hospitality. So we try to give as much as we can. And we actually found someone that knew the language, and we had that person for 2 days, I think, just to make it feel a little bit comfortable. But yeah, no, not big issues in that. Nobody else? Okay. Thank you.